Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we're going to continue looking at some of the business structures within the private sector of a given country. And so last time we looked at the cooperative, and so we're going to look at the franchise today. We're going to be looking at the franchise for MOB for Scape. All right, so we're going to just jump right into that right now, right? The franchise. So we covered the private, public company, the limited company, sole trader, partnership, cooperatives, and so we're looking at the franchise. Now, what is a franchise? A franchise is a system whereby an already established and successful business, the franchisor, enters into a contractual agreement with semi-independent business owners, the franchisee, to operate under the franchise's trademark. So what they're saying here is that the owner of the trademark simply gives persons the authority, the right to operate using their trademark, their secret recipes, their look, their logos, everything. So it's a pre-packaged business in a sense. So that's what the franchise is. Someone who owns the rights to a certain business, selling someone the rights to use those things. You don't own them, you don't own it. For example, you know, fast food, you have your KFC, Burger King, your Domino's. I have a lot of franchises, different restaurants all over the country, all over the world. But those persons do not own KFC. They got the right to open a KFC using their trademark material by the franchisor. So the franchisor can always come back and take back that franchise. So that's a key difference there with a franchise and maybe another form of business. It's not yours, it's not your name. You cannot do as you wish with it. That's why they have this here. Semi-independent. That's a key right there. Semi-independent. You cannot just do what you want either way. Right? So you're semi-independent. The franchise may also be given permission. The franchisee, which is the person who bought the contractually obligated to use the trademarks, may also be given permission to sell the franchisor's products and use its business format and system. This privilege is often granted in exchange for a fee and royalties being paid to the franchisor. So that's a key thing right there. Whatever the agreement is, maybe every quarter, every fiscal year, whatever, you have to pay what you call royalties for using the people's name, systems, trademark material, things like that. You have to pay royalties. But of course, you have to pay an initial fee to even get the privilege to use a person's brand, name, whatever. You have to pay an initial fee, and then whatever the agreement is, whether it is quarterly, annually, you have to pay the franchisor, their royalties. And royalties can be hefty, can be expensive, as we'll see in one of the disadvantages of running a franchise. There are a number of franchise businesses in the CARICOM, including Kentucky Fried Chicken, Burger King, Subway. You have some local, you have some that grew out of the Caribbean, like your Juicy Patties and things like that. All right, so they say here now, the franchise arrangement may take different forms, including those outlined below. So these are some of the forms that a franchise might take. It can be one of any of them. These are some of the forms. All are not the same. You can have varying degree of being a franchise. So a pure franchise. This is a type of franchise in which the franchisor sells the franchisee the complete business format and system. Pure franchise. So they take the business as it is and just here, you go ahead, use it. You just pay us royalties, pay us a fee, but use everything that we also use. So that's our format, our systems, our layout, our color scheme, everything. Just go home, a ready-made business, take it, run with it. Just make sure you honor whatever contractual obligations you have. Then you have the product distribution franchise, a dealer franchise. So here the franchisee is given a license to sell products under the franchisor's name and trademark through a selective and limited distribution network. And so a good example of this would be certain car dealerships. You might have a business that's the official dealership for, let's say, BMW. And so they would get the BMW banner, They have their stock of BMW pass, the BMW car, and things like that, and they can market using the BMW moniker, the BMW brand, and things like that, because the franchisor gave them the right to use the trademark, and they are the official, in a sense, dealership for that particular car brand. So that's the next example right there of the product distribution franchise, where you are the main distributor for a certain item in a certain area. Again, something in the computer space. You might have an official distributor of, let's say, Dell computers in a certain area, certain country. And anybody who wants Dell, they have to come through you to get their Dell. If they want it fixed, they can actually come to you, get it fixed. And, there is just as good as you go overseas and you go to the official stores and things like that. So a key thing to note here is that with the product distribution franchise, you do not use the franchisor's systems or their format of business. That's one of the key differences between this and the pure franchise. You do not use their format or their systems. You just focus on the product alone. So like I said, for the BMW dealership, the franchisor would provide that dealership with the BMW cars that they need, so they can focus on the cars. But you can operate the business however you see fit. You paint it however you see fit. You promote it however you see fit. Of course, you have to be tasteful and whatnot, because you don't want to be associated with any bad thing. But you don't have to follow any color schemes, any formatting, any systems in this type of franchise. The main thing is to focus on the product that you are distributing, based on what the franchisor gives to you, right? So that's one of the key differences between that and the pure. Now then you have the trade name franchise. The trade name franchise, this is where the franchisee purchases the right to use the franchisor's trade name. So again, very popular, especially in the beverage industry. You might see a lot of stores with, a Heineken branding or a Coca-Cola branding. And when you go inside, they sell a lot of Coca-Cola products, a lot of Heineken products, things like that. But they also sell other things. They also sell Pepsi, they also sell the Buster, they also sell other things. But they're given the right to use the franchisor's trade name. So they can paint up the store, Coke or Heineken or whatever. But inside, they operate their own business either way. They have their own business model, their own business formatting. But they can sell other things also. They're not the main Coca-Cola dealer in the island. Others would sell Coke, but they are given the right to use the name, the trade name, to get their products sold. And so that's the next example of the trade name franchise. So the pure one, you get everything, format, systems, name, everything. For the product distribution franchise, you get the products. The focus is on the products that the franchisor offers. So you are selling, you're the dealership for that franchisor's products. You don't inherit the systems or the format. And for the name franchise, you can use their name to promote your items, your store, and also stock their products, but you can stock other products also. If you go around, you see some shoe stores, some apparel stores with the Nike logo, the Nike name advertising for them, but they can also sell their Adidas, Reebok, Fila shoes in that same establishment. But they have a section dedicated to their Nike, and they can use the Nike name to promote their business. All right, so those are the three main types or forms of the franchise. Advantages of a franchise. The franchisee receives management training and support. So that's a good thing. So what they do, when you are going to start the franchise, the franchisor would bring you in, or your staff, and actually train you in the ways of that franchise. So you ever heard about the McDonald's school, where they bring you in, teach you the way of McDonald's, how it is done, how you make the patties, how you do this, how you do that. So they do that. They give you management and training support. So sometimes you don't want it to fail, right? You don't want the franchise to fail because it make you look bad either way. So of course you're gonna give management and training to the new owner, the franchisees, and so that will help them to be more in your stable, make them look more to your company liking. Brand name appeal. So this is the next advantage, the brand name appeal. Since the brand is already established, so what they're saying is that, like I said before, it's a ready-made business. You don't have to go and do all the market research. You don't have to do all the marketing yourself. You don't have to think of a name, of a system or anything like that. You already have it. It's already established for you. Now the brand name, like for example, KFC. Everybody know what KFC is. So imagine you come and put down a restaurant, put on KFC. You don't have to do much marketing after that. People already know the brand and know what to expect, know what the chicken should taste, and things like that. They should know the stars should be set up, the counter, the system, everything. You should know already because the name is already established, and you know what comes with a certain name. Burger King, Pizza Hut, whatever. You know what comes. So if you go from one Caribbean island to the next, you see a KFC, you see a Pizza, you see a Burger King, you know what to expect based on that brand name. You already know what to expect. You already have a certain appeal based on that brand name. Advertisement by the franchisor will also benefit the franchisee, because one of the agreement is that you have to pay towards the overall marketing of the company. Because if I market something, KFC again, here, your KFC is gonna get a bump in marketing also without you spending a dime. That is why you have to agree to put in the pool for the marketing dollars, because when you see KFC advertised on American television, you already know, okay, there's a local one, maybe they might have what they just advertised in stock. So you go on and check and see. Up to now, the local one hasn't advertised, but the one that is on TV can also relate to your local KFC on the ground. And so advertisement by the franchisor also benefits the franchisee. The quality of the product is maintained in order to protect the reputation of the franchisor. Now, the franchisor would do what they have to do to make sure that the quality standards are maintained. If you do not maintain that, they're going to pull the franchise from you. And so that is one way that you can keep people on their toes. They have to be up to par, up to standard, or else you pull the franchise and then we are the no. So that's one way that you can control the quality of the reputation and the product of the brand. Because you know that there's a risk that if they don't abide by it, they're going to lose it. And so they are more incentivized to be up to standard, up to scratch. The products and business format are tested and proven. Again, we said this before, it's a ready-made business. It's already proven, established. And so you as an entrepreneur don't have to go through all that market testing, the viability testing, none of those things. You already know it's a brand. It's been proven to be successful. And it's been tested already, tried and true. Right? So you don't have as much stress as if you're starting from scratch. Availability of financial assistance to the franchisee. So they can actually help you, give you some money to get started, but of course, you have to repay that money later on, any royalties and fees and things like that. But it's available if you need to shore up some of your downsides. But of course, there are some disadvantages to a franchise. The franchise must pay a fee and royalties to the franchisor. So right there, it's kind of expensive. You have to pay your fees, you have to pay the franchisor royalties, and these things can be hefty. These fees can be hefty. To even get a certain franchise can be hefty, especially if that franchise is well established, very popular, so it can be expensive. There must be strict adherence to the standard outlined by the franchisor. As I said before, you have to maintain the standards or they pull the franchise from you. Now, one of the things you have to realize is that you have to do what they say. Basically, the color scheme, you can't just go and paint the KFC black. No, what do you think will happen? They're going to come back and take back the franchise. You can't go and paint it black. You have to be the red and white. So you cannot just go and paint, let's say, Burger King red and white. That's not the deal. That's not part of it. You have to maintain the standards and the whatever policies that the franchisor outlined to you. So you don't have any independence in determining certain factors. You can't just go in let's say KFC again and just put pork on the menu, right? Because that's not part of their brand. It's Kentucky Fried Chicken. So you just can't go and put pork or beef on the menu. So that's the next thing you have to be cognizant about. You have to adhere to what the franchisor outlined in the agreement. The franchise may not be able to deviate from the product line of the franchisor. So I just mentioned that before. You have to maintain the product line. But the thing is, you don't have to carry every single thing, because you have to do what you call localizing still. You have to bring it down to the local economy, because some places don't eat certain things prepared a certain way. For example, when I went to Trinidad and I went to the Trinidad KFC, they don't have the same all that's available in, let's say, St. Kitts or Jamaica is not available in Trinidad, because you have a different population, you might have the different ethnicities, and so therefore you would, lean more towards the local cravings, the local taste profile. So you don't have the same thing. So yes, that's a part of the product line, but you can take out certain things that don't match your localized taste profile, as I said before. There was a famous quote that showed not quote, but it was a famous story with Starbucks, where Starbucks went to China and they started selling certain things that Americans like, but they realized there was no traction. But when they switch up now to the local taste, then they start getting more sales. So there's a next episode with Starbucks where they went, Starbucks is about the coffee. But certain ethnicities, certain nationalities, certain peoples prefer tea. And so you can't expect to open a coffee shop in a tea loving area. And so Starbucks had to switch up a bit and start selling the black tea and the green tea and the chai tea and all that kind of stuff, because that audience prefer tea to coffee. And so those are the things you have to do. To even though it's a franchise, they will give you a right to localize the product still. Market saturation may lead to a failure of the business. It's a very obvious one. Because look at this. Some franchise, they have a non-compete, clause in the contract. So they actually don't want to see too many of their restaurants or whatever too close to each other. So they would say, okay, I have one there, you cannot put yours there. So they have to scout the location for you also. That's some. But there are others, they don't care. They get the money, they get the royalties, that's all they care about. So you might end up seeing 3 or 4 the same company, same line, but got different franchisees. Right? So that could be problematic. Imagine you walk, you see 2 KFC next to each other. Right? Problem. Somebody gonna scrabble. So that's one thing that you have to be cognizant of when you got too many of the same franchise in the same area. Too clustered mean that the market will be saturated and somebody gonna suffer, and that's a problem, right? So that's basically it for the franchise. As you can see, it's a little more concise, a little summarized, because for MOB, you should have already touched franchise in POB. And so this is just a gentle reminder of what the franchise is all about as a business structure. Right? So that's why it's not too in-depth as you would expect, because I would have done that already in POB. So these are some of the stuff that's just being rehashed. Alright? So that's it for the franchise. And you know what to do now. That's it for the franchise. Next time we're gonna be looking at the joint venture. And then that would be it for the private sector organizations. And then we're going to jump into the public sector organizations like the public corporations, statutory boards, etc. And so what you have to do now is like the video for sure, hit the bell, click the notification bell. Just click it so you know when the next video drop. If you're interested in economics, POB, MOB, click the bell so you know when something else drop from Learn SKN. Alright? So again, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.